Good morning. It is Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. I'm back here for Bed Talk 325. And today we're going to talk about culture. But we're going to talk about one of the problems with just the word culture, the ways we default to it without even understanding it or certainly not defining it and clarifying it. Recently, I have had and heard so many conversations where people are saying things like, we need to get people back into our office because that's our culture. Or having certain types of communication is our culture. I was talking to someone yesterday, a coaching client, and they said, well, it is important that we get people back in the office part of the time because it's part of our culture. But then I asked the question, well, what exactly do you mean? In what ways is having people in the office part of your culture? And he didn't have an answer. And I'm not surprised because we tend to think that culture is something that's certainly specific and that just is this aura of our place. But in the end, he realized he didn't really have an explanation as to how it was part of their culture. See, my definition of culture is really simple. It's three words: values in action. And what you value that you put into action is your culture. Now, that's a culture by design. There are also many cultures by default, which means you just show up and do things a certain way, and that is your culture. Someone says we want to create a culture. No, you want to shift your culture. You want to shift it from perhaps a culture by default to a culture by design. That means you need to get clear on what you stand for and what that culture will be. Back to what are the values and in what ways can we put them into action? Because if they're not in action, they're not real. And this is, by the way, is where we have a lot of breakage in trust, where we say our culture is one thing and our values are one thing, but we don't show up that way at all, or certainly not consistently. So beware of where you just throw the word culture around. And if it comes up in a conversation or meeting, ask someone, so what exactly do you mean by culture? And what ways is this decision, whatever it's about, supportive of our so-called culture? You'll be surprised at how often people don't really have an answer to that. And that's the starting problem that we need to address. More on that down the road. But for now, keep taking care of yourself and everyone around you. And by all means, stay connected.